Welcome to Go Lurk Yourself, a podcast about streaming and playing video games on the internet. My name is Crunky.
And I'm Cherry Cake.
And I just almost blanked about our intro here.
I noticed that pause and I was like, has he forgotten what to say?
I did. Cherry and I were just talking about how we both have like mild headaches this morning.
Yeah.
And I took my headache medicine about 45 minutes ago, which tends to make me a bit spacey. So, pre-apology, I guess.
Yeah, it might be a bit slow going, this one, so.
All right, well, buckle up, everybody. It's about to get really bumpy. So, well, welcome back, everybody. It's been a couple weeks since we had an episode, but here we are. We're going to talk a little bit today about some gaming news, some gaming rumors, and what we've been playing lately. Plus, we have a special PSA for you guys who are gaming on either console or on PC. Some things to look for in your TV and gaming monitors. We'll get into that a little bit later. But to start out, Cherry, what have you been playing on your video game library?
Well, my adventures this week have taken me back to Super Mario World, but yeah, not Super Mario World as you know it. So for those that have been quite long-time listeners, probably know that I'm a big Mario fan now. I guess I wasn't as a kid, but I watch a lot of Mario Maker streams. So Mario Maker 2 came out last year, so that's been going quite strong. So my follow list on Twitch mainly consists of Mario Maker streamers. And a lot of these guys... Gone.
I said nice. That's fun to watch those crazy, talented Mario Maker streamers that I watch and I'm like, this had to take 500 hours to get to this point.
Oh, God, yeah. Some of the skill that these guys have, it's insane. They make it look so easy. So when you go into some of the levels that they do, you think, oh, yeah, I could probably do that in a couple tries or an hour. But it's ridiculous. They have so much practice and so many hours put into that game. I was watching Barbarous King, who is one of the bigger Mario Maker streamers, and just out of curiosity, when he was playing the other day, he was streaming Mario Maker 2, and we went into his little library. And on the Switch now that you can look at each game and you can look at how many hours you put into a game.
Yeah.
He went into Mario Maker 2 and he's put nearly 1,500 hours into it already.
But that game's only been out for less than a year, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So he's one of the best players of that game. Anyway,
if you've never seen Mario Maker, high level Mario Maker play, I'm just gonna paint a little picture here, real quick, Shay.
Yeah, go on.
These guys, they'll take Mario and they'll jump off of a ledge onto a spike that's floating in the air with a shell on it, or a Koopa. Bounce on that Koopa, grab the shell, kick that shell into a wall. As they bounce up in the air, then they will hit that shell as it bounces back at them to make another jump, or they'll spin jump so they can land on something else that's destructible, and chain that into 5-6 more amazing feats like that in a row. And when you watch a Mario Maker stream, you could watch them learn a section like those 5 moves, and it takes them an hour because they got to figure out the precise jump of each step of it over and over again. It's absolutely fascinating. Sorry.
We're having this discussion actually on stream as well. In Mario Maker 1, you got what was called a level editor. So if you came across a level that you were doing in an endless, it wasn't endless, but a super expert run in Mario Maker 1, if you got stuck on that level and you died and it killed your run, you were able to download that level and go and have a look around and practice certain sections, put Mario into the level itself and just do a little section on probably the one part that you got stuck on. Mario Maker 2 doesn't have that. And
the reason they did that, I think, was because people were just tweaking levels and re-uploading them to get
This I take issue with because I honestly don't know if that was a massive problem enough for them to warrant taking out the editor altogether. There has to have been some kind of restrictions that they could have implemented in order for that to stop happening. If you downloaded a level from someone else, just make it. I know I'm putting it in very, very simple terms. I know a lot of coding and tweaking of the levels. What's the word I'm looking for?
Re-upload.
The mechanism itself.
Yeah.
Would take a lot to do, but surely there could have been something if you downloaded a level from someone else, you weren't allowed to save it. You could download it, but you couldn't save it. Even if you made adjustments to that, you would have to go and create the entire level by yourself. And I don't think a lot of people would have done that anyway.
I think I remember reading the Mario Maker subreddit during the Wii U Mario Maker 1 era, where at that time, and that was years and years ago. What was that, 4 years ago that Mario Maker 1 came out now? I think maybe 3. But anyway, I remember it being an issue. People would go complain because some kind of lesser named person would go and make a level, and then like a big name person would just copy it and re-upload it with like a couple small tweaks, and then they'd get all their what was it called? Was it Yaz instead of thumbs up or hearts from the Wii U had the Miiverse, which had Yaz, and they'd get all the upvotes from them. But anyway, I didn't mean to derail us. So you've been playing a lot of Mario Maker 2.
No, not Mario Maker 2.
Oh, no.
Super Mario World. Yeah, I could talk for hours about Mario Maker anyway, so don't ever apologize for that. On that side tangent, these guys, while they play Mario Maker 2, they do a lot of what's called ROM hacks, and just very basic term explanation of it is a ROM hack is specifically the Super Mario World ones. You have access to all the sprites, all the objects, all the items that make up Super Mario World, just the vanilla original version. So Mario, all the Koopas, all the Goombas, all the pipes, all the vines, anything that you see that's in a level, what you can do is take these elements and create your own levels with these items.
So this dates back to like back in the day when Mario ROMs first got cracked. A ROM is read-only memory. It's basically the data that's on a cartridge. So when you bought a Super Nintendo, there used to be people who would take those, hook them to a computer with a special gadget, extract the information, and literally hack the ROM and make their own version of the game, like Jerry's saying.
Obviously, Crunk is more the nerd than me because...
Technically.
I heard the glasses being pushed up your nose then.
So you found there's been I remember you sending me a link to there's a website that had like hundreds of them, and they were of all kind of ranks and difficulties, and it looked really interesting.
Yeah, the main one that I use is called SMW Central. Okay. Now that I think about it, I can't actually remember the name of it. I just want to double check that. It's the SMW Central, and basically that's just a massive site and forum for anyone that wants to create hacks and have created hacks to put their work on there. Everything gets verified and looked at and played, so there shouldn't be any garbage on there. But when I was looking into playing these things, like I was saying, a lot of the guys that play Super Mario Maker, they do ROM hacks which are Kaizo based, and Kaizo is kind of just a Japanese term for difficult. It's kind of taken on a different meaning now, with invisible blocks and being like named Kaizo blocks. Yeah, trolley. Yeah. And I'm not good enough. I know I'm not good enough to play Kaizo. Because invisible, if you haven't played Mario before, or know what she's talking about, the invisible blocks are like people will put invisible blocks where it looks like you're supposed to jump with the specific intent of making you hit it and fall into a hole and kill you. Yeah, the most classic places of putting them is between two bits of land with, like Crunk says, with a pit, and then you just automatically go full pelt and run, and you won't see the block until you hit it, and then it will just put you into that pit. So yeah.
AKA the asshole block.
Yes, pretty much. So many people rage at them, and quite rightly as well. I wasn't aware of them until Mario Maker. I didn't realize they were something that appeared in Super Mario World.
So, no, actually it's older than that.
Is it?
Yeah, the way this, I've read a couple of like history of the 80s, history of video gaming in the 80s, and there's several conversations and several interviews where Shigeru Miyamoto did not want to make Super Mario Brothers 2 for the NES.
Yeah.
And when they started making it, they just picked up the difficulty where 8 left off in Mario 1. So Mario 2 introduced like the poison mushroom, blocks that would kill you, and almost had this Kaizo trolley element to it. And it was so difficult that when Nintendo of America saw it, they said, this is not going to go over well. and I don't think anywhere outside of Japan got it until and we got the Super Mario Brothers 2 that we got here in America, and I think you guys got in the UK.
Yeah.
Was the pull up the picking the flowers and or not flowers, but the radishes and stuff.
Yeah.
And you had to fight Wart at the end. Actually, what we know as Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels was the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah. It was the Mario 2 was a reskin version, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a different game called Doki Doki Panic by
yeah.
and they just took out the main characters and enemies, and I don't think they changed the enemies. They just took out the main characters and put in Mario, Luigi, Toad, and said, "Okay, ship it." And then Japan got it later, called the reskin version called Super Mario 2 USA. I think is what they call it there.
I will say, Super Mario 2 is probably one of my favorite Super Marios. Out of the whole lot.
It's not funny, and it's not. I mean, technically, it was never made by Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo was the developer on that. I want to say it wasn't. But anyway, yeah, I digress. It was that Doki Doki Panic was a well received game in Japan. I think that's why they brought it to America because they knew it was a good hit. But
they probably made the right decision in making it into Mario though, because otherwise, no one would know what it was.
You're right. We never would. I don't think it would have made it over here because of the translation issues.
But was it released like in sequential order though? It was Mario 1 and then we got Mario 2, fake Mario 2.
Yeah,
they actually did it like that.
Yep. Well, it was years between games. I mean, it seemed like a lot longer to me because I was pretty young then. But like, I think Mario 1 came out in 85, so I would have been about 7 years old.
Wow.
And then, I know. And then I got Mario 2 came out a couple years later, and then Mario 3 came out right at the end of the Nintendo's life, right before SNES came out, maybe a year or two before.
See, I feel like we've touched on this before, but I never played the original Mario 3. I only ever played the All-Stars version because we never had a NES. We had a SNES.
That was like the up-res graphics a little bit, like the 16-bit. It's a beautiful looking game too.
It is very, yeah. It's weird seeing the like discolored version of it, or the original version of Mario 3 on the NES compared to the All-Stars version.
Because that's the only one you know, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, but anyway, this Kaizo stuff, from what I remember you saying, is what led you to ROM hacks. You got tired of sorting through the online garbage pile that is. Yeah. So it sounds like we're shitting on Mario Maker. Mario Maker is absolutely an amazing game, but it's all user submitted content, and that's both good and bad. And for every great level you find, you might also run into some garbage.
Yeah, for anyone that has like seen or played Mario Maker, they will understand. Like, you can play 10 levels, and 9 of them will be absolute garbage, and 1 will be a gem. Even that's probably being a bit generous. So I have Mario Maker 2, and I got tired of there wasn't a suitable level of gameplay from what I can do. It was either like stupidly easy, incredibly difficult, or just garbage. So there was it was very difficult for me to find like decent levels for me that I could actually complete and enjoy. So I was looking through these hacks, and just out of curiosity, after searching through the Kaizo ones, I was like, is there a filter for just normal hacks, like just normal platforming, nothing too difficult? There has an element of a challenge into it, but nothing that you're doing double shell jumps or spin jumps from here to eternity. And there are
almost like something that is in the same style and intent as what Nintendo was going for when they made them originally. Yeah,
because I really enjoy playing Super Mario World, and I love the style of gaming and just the whole feel of the game. It feels like really well put together. But I didn't want to just replay Super Mario World over and over and over again. I wanted something different, but in the style of Super Mario World. So, after searching for a little bit, I actually came across, like I say, quite a few decently rated ones. And I'm playing one at the moment, which is called Classic Mario World. And it's definitely proven a challenge, but it's so much fun. It really is.
It's like having a new Super Mario World every time you can load up the system, right? That's awesome. Yeah,
but it's having quality levels as well. This isn't some garbage that some kid's done on Super Mario Maker they've thrown up in like 5 minutes. This is something that someone has play tested and put actual love and care and dedication into creating something that's very well done.
So that brings up the question: are you going to download the ROM hack creator software and start making your own levels?
No. Long and short of it, no.
Hard no on that one.
No. It's I've watched Barbara's King do ROM hacks. Make ROM hacks on stream, and it's not something that I have the patience for. It's not something I have the skill for either, because I think it's something that needs you need practice at it. And because it's quite easy to make a level that you understand and you know what's coming and you know what to do. But when you give it to someone else blind, it could be utter garbage, which is what part of the problem that Mario Maker has. You can create a level which you think is the absolute bomb and then give it to someone that knows nothing about the level, and it could be trash.
Because it's got blind jumps and unfair things. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, there's one of the cool things about Mario Maker 2 that no one uses is that it has this like in-depth tutorial, like video guided tutorial of how Nintendo goes about making classic Nintendo levels. Have you ever looked at it in Mario 2? Mario Maker 2?
I want to say I've seen bits of it, but not actually.
It's really long and cumbersome because it's like they interrupt you over and over again, and they hold your hand. Yeah, exactly. But like everyone gives up on it after about an hour because it's super cumbersome and long and plotting, but it's huge. Like it gets into like way in depth, like how to make levels effectively. And like Nintendo's basically given you the keys to the car and said, hey, make Mario levels. And they've given you like a textbook that's like 4 inches thick of how to do it, of the lessons that they learned in the years that they've done it. It's really remarkable and unusual for a company to do that and leave it to Nintendo to do something unusual.
Yeah, true. The unfortunate thing about that is, like you probably just said, no one is going to read the text. It's just the way things are. Yeah.
Or if they are doing it, if anybody is, they're getting buried by the 10 or 20 to 1 ratio of shit that's out there.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So would you tell if people wanted to get into this, how would you recommend that they start? Because you have to have a gaming computer, or you have to have an emulator, right?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this is something that we'll talk about a bit later on with input lag and such. But we were discussing emulators, and the one that I use is SNES 9X, which I think is quite a popular one. If you just do a Google search for it, it should come up. There's a couple of other ones that people do use. I think RetroArch is another one, but I haven't dived into that yet. There is something actually I was looking at today, Crunk, that on YouTube video with. Okay. I've just forgotten. My brain is not functioning today. It was discussing input lag and how to. There is a specific option in RetroArch that you can turn off and on and tweak to counteract the input lag.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you guys want to check out any of the hacks, whether it be Kaizo or not, just get to smwcentral.net. Everything you need to know is on there. There's even like guides, tutorials, introductions, FAQs, any and everything that you can think of in regards to hacks.
Well, I think we should talk about that input lag issue real quick. One of the things that Cherry and I were talking about this week is she was looking for a SNES Mini because one of the problems she's having with these emulators is that she's got some input lag. And for those of you guys who don't know, whether it be a console or your computer's emulator or whatnot, there's a delay between when you push the button and when your character responds on screen, and it can be influenced by a bunch of things. The processing time it takes the console or the emulator to process that. But other things that you have control over, more control over, are like the Windows drivers. If you're using a third-party controller, can sometimes introduce lag. Your monitor's refresh rate and natural response time, or your TV. One of the things we found out, Cherry actually games on a consumer television, right? Mm-hmm. Samsung, yeah. And it has a TV mode and a game mode. And one of the things the game mode does is it reduces that what they call input lag on the TV. Literally, I think by default wasn't at 30 seconds or 30 milliseconds.
Yeah.
So that's like half a second. You push the button and Mario jumps 1/1000 halfway through that, jumps halfway through that. And the game mode, I think, cut that in half.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, usually a gaming monitor on your computer will have quite a bit less. They'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 milliseconds. But even jumping from 30 to 15 is a huge get for Mario games. But, what I read on those Mario, ROM hacks was that, the emulator that works best and the only one that's accepted for speedruns is the SNES 9X, and that's the one you're using, I think.
Yeah. I did a bit of testing with it last night.
Okay.
We did end up playing Siege for a little bit. I don't. The thing is, we haven't played Siege for consistently for quite a long time, so
it's hard to tell. Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult to gauge how much of a difference it's actually made. I did eventually go on to play a bit of the ROM hack that I was on Mario World, and I don't know if there is a noticeable difference.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, I still need to do some proper testing with it to see if it actually does, or it has lowered the input lag. But I guess we'll see. If I'm just garbage at it, I'll just blame that anyway.
No, you've played enough Mario. I think you know the difference between what's a delay. I remember when the Wii came out and had Virtual Console, and you could get Mario on the Wii off their Virtual Console service.
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed, even though I hadn't played Mario forever, I spent a ton of time as a kid playing it, is that there is input lag on the Wii, the emulated Wii version, because even if it's on the Wii U, the Switch, whatever, it's an emulated version of the existing hardware. They didn't actually jam a whole Nintendo console inside there for you to play it on.
You mean they didn't? What?
No. And even the original NES has input lag. I don't know about the UK, but in the US, the NES had, I may be misquoting myself, but I think it has 4 milliseconds of input lag because of it. They measured everything in frames then. So if a game was 60 hertz or 60 frames per second, if you hit the input during frame 1, it had to wait until the next frame to react. But if you did it right before the frame came out, it would go on that frame. So speedrunners can get these frame timings. They play it so often that they understand what frame timings mean. I don't play it enough. I don't ever do speedrunning, but it's just absolutely insane. There is no true zero. In fact, when in doing some research, when you and I were talking about it earlier in the week, I found an emulator that tries to do predictive frame pacing, so to make your inputs more precise. But what it does is it chops out that buffer frame. If you push a button halfway through frame 1, it chops out the next frame that it would normally miss, and that can make enemies move, and none of the speedrunner communities will let you submit anything with that because you're literally chopping out frames of the game.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
Yeah, but well, I think we've got technical enough on that. If you're basically the long story short is if you're gaming on a console, on a TV, look to make sure you're in game mode. Especially if you're playing something like a shooter, or if you need absolute frame perfection, and if you're playing on a gaming monitor, check to make sure that your monitor has a low input latency mode. That really helps a lot. I know the monitor I have, you could set a monitor for maximum frames per second. You can set it for color depth, and those are all the more technologically advanced setting you go for. It has to give somewhere. I know my monitor I have from Dell has a super high refresh mode, but if I turn it on, I get ghosting all over the place because it blurs all the colors.
Oh, no.
It's just not worth playing. Anyway, if you don't mind, do you have anything else you want to say about Mario, Kaizo, or not Kaizo, but ROM hacks?
No, I think we covered everything. Yeah, if you enjoy Super Mario World and you want something a bit different, go check it out.
Nice. Well, we'll switch on over to the game that I've been playing this week. The newest game I've been playing is called Hunt Showdown for PC. It's actually on Xbox One and PS4 as well. It's another one of those, if you've seen Escape from Tarkov, it's kind of like that, but everything has this like Western feel, like revolvers and rifles and a little bit of like X-Files type magic. There's monsters of zombies and spiders, and there's some kind of like pig monster called the Butcher. It's a weird game, but it's a survival battle royale / permadeath rotation game. I don't know if it has a particular genre right now because it's not quite like PUBG, but basically it's 1 to 3 players on a team, and you have a player level, which is like XP you gain that unlocks things in the store when you go to outfit your character that you pick for each round. You have things you can buy in the store, like different kinds of guns, different kinds of health packs, and then there's like traps and things like that, and lights and like flammables, bombs, like Molotovs you can throw, and you start out, and I don't remember the exact number, but maybe it's random each time too, like depending on the player load, how many people are on the map with you, other players. But the objective of the game is you and your team spawn in, and there's these little bitty, it's like an old West town, but a lot of trees and brush and swamps everywhere. And you go find a village. And in the village can be a couple of things, or other than a bunch of monsters around that you guys have to either kill or avoid. There's a clue like in the ground, and after you find 3 clues, it will then on the map narrow down and show you where the boss monster is of the map.
Okay.
So you have to make your way to the boss monster and kill it. If you kill it, you have to banish it, which is like a 5-minute, maybe give or take 5-minute banishing process. And once the monster is banished, he will drop these, I don't even remember what they're called, these rewards. And you grab those rewards and you take them to an extraction point on the map, which are randomly generated.
Right.
And if you do all that, you get all kinds of experience and points for both you and your hunter that you chose to take and outfitted that round. If you don't, there's other people trying to do the same thing. So that's where the PvP comes in. Okay. As you're doing all these things, trying to do all these things, so is everybody else. And if there are not enough people on the map, only 1 boss monster spawns. And if there's enough, then they'll spawn 2 of them. So your chances of running into other hunters is really, really high. And because the game is super focused on sound, like if you have a rifle and you're taking open shots at monsters, people from like 2 towns away can hear that action going on.
Wow.
If you're fighting a boss and you're just unloading guns on it, everybody around knows you're fighting a boss because it's just way too many shots compared to a hunter. Go ahead.
If those people have heard you and they come towards you, would they go for the monster or would they go for you?
That depends on the person. What I've ran into is if we're fighting a monster, we usually have 2 people fight the monster and 1 person kind of keep lookout and let us know, because the monsters are in their own house, and you can leave the house and go engage the hunters without worrying about the monster coming after you. So it's a really interesting idea. And I actually, longtime listeners of the show know that my friend Gorby and Dama, who Cherry and I have played with for years and years, they actually both got the game, and we've been playing it all week. Our first 4 matches, the ending of this, it's a battle royale-ish type of game. So like to win early, it was I wasn't expecting it. I was kind of prepping them like, hey guys, they wanted to try to go, if you want to try this game, cool, but just don't expect to win every time. It's one of those games you outfit your hunter with things you buy from the shop, the in-game currency you get.
Yeah.
And when that hunter, if you get killed, that hunter's dead. You have to go recruit another one. And there's all kinds of like traits you can, as you upgrade your hunters, they can learn new traits. So if you've survived one, your hunter is stronger and a better hunter the next time, but if he dies, he's dead.
That was going to be my next question, because you were telling me that you have like a bit of a stable with different hunters that you can go with, but they're basically the same until you start leveling them. Yeah,
so you have your hunter level, which is the hunter who gets a little bit more of abilities until he's dead, and then you've got your player rank, and that's the XP you get no matter what happens that you retain, and that does a couple things. It unlocks different weapons and utility items and meds and stronger meds in the store. And then that also after you hit a certain threshold, you go to like tier 2, which means when you go to when you lose a hunter, you can go into the recruitment window and once every death you can reshuffle and get a free hunter anytime you want, or between every game. So you never run out of hunters, but once you hit tier 2, you can use the in-game money to buy like a tier 2 hunter who comes with a couple of better weapons, better gadgets, and maybe even a couple of innate abilities for free right from the start. And that's where ranking up has its advantages. So when you first play this game, you're going up against, or you could potentially be going up against people who are like they're tier 3, and they have like there's a ability in the game where called fanning, and that's if you have a revolver, you can hip fire and just go bam, 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 bam. Which in a game that's mostly single shot, that's a huge advantage up close.
Yeah.
So I think the first time I got into a fight in this game, I was playing it solo, which by the way, this game is scary as hell if you play it solo. Because it's super sound based, and everything makes you jump. And was that a monster or is that a hunter? But the first time I played it, I got in this fight with a guy, and I hit him like 4 times, but over a couple of minutes. So he probably was healing in between, and then he finally got close enough, and it's just bam, 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 bam. I'm like, oh, how the hell am I supposed to fight against this guy?
Oh no!
But when Gorby and Dava and I played it this week, we played the first night. I think it was Friday night. We played it. We played 4 games and won 3 of them. And it was like, this game's easy. And then the next day we played like 20 rounds, and I think we won once. It got absolutely demolished. So we kind of came crashing back to the average. But we've had a lot of fun. I don't know if it's a game that's going to have like the staying power to play it constantly, but I think it's a game that I can play for a couple of rounds here and there and have a good time with. So I think I bought it for $30 on a Steam sale, and it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, if it was on sale, I suppose you get your money's worth.
Yeah, I've already got my money's worth. If I don't play it ever again, I got my money's worth because we had such a good time with this weekend.
You were saying just then about ranks and how you level up in general. Is there any kind of I don't know the terminology for it, but you know when you queue up in Siege, you get put against like the same kind of level players. Like
a matchmaking system?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
I don't know what it is, but I've been told by one of Gorby's friends who we played with PUBG with years ago. You may not remember his name is the Great D. Dietrich is his real name. He has like you can sort the leaderboard by your friends to see who has the most kills and KDF, and he has like 500 games. And so he says what happens according to him is that they try to prioritize you to play with your player rank, and then if you win a couple in a row, it like bumps you up into the next bracket to kind of smack you back down into reality.
So basically what you guys experienced.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. And of course, when I was playing with Gorby and Dama, they were like brand new level 1 characters, rank 1 characters. And I think I was just about to hit tier 2. So I was like in my 30s. And I think that's why we got put in, the newbie pile, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And now Dama and Gorby are both ranked 2, but we're actually learning too. We're winning firefights, and we're learning how to communicate as a team and how to. We've actually some of the best times in that game we've had have just been us screwing around because they have a monster in there called the Immolator, and he's basically a man who's on fire. He's a skeleton who's on fire. Yeah. If you shoot him or pierce him with any kind of piercing weapon, he explodes in like a 30-foot radius and catches everybody on fire, which puts a dot on you. So you have to bludgeon him to death, either punch him or bludgeon him to death. And that's where the sound in this game is really, really good because you use it for everything. Like you start to spot enemies. You don't even have to know where they are. You don't even have to see them to know, okay, there's an Immolator over there because he makes a certain sound. And if your group is really good, you can get like knuckle dusters or melee weapons that are really quiet. So if you go into a town and you know that there's people in there fighting the boss in this town, you want to sneak up on them and deal with any monsters that are in the way, melee, so you don't make as much noise. In fact, I was watching a strat yesterday where people were fighting the spider boss with melee weapons. I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
Surely that has to take a long time.
It had to have, yeah. These guys were playing duos on a strategy video I was watching, and it was long enough that whoever was editing the YouTube video like fast forwarded through it. So, but yeah, it's actually been really enjoyable. It was General Chaos, who's been on the pod before, who was trying to tell me to play it, and I played it with him once, and it was fun when you're like with a group of friends. Yeah. I tried to play it solo, and I'm like, I hate this. I played it like 3 times because I would jump out of my chair. It was so scary. And I was like creeping around like a psycho in the bushes, trying to like not make any noise, and because the sound is so permanent in the game. And I've played a couple, like now that I'm used to the game, I can play solo no problem. But when you first play it, man, I was like playing Resident Evil for the first time. I was like, everything spooked the hell out of me. But I would recommend it. If any of this sounds interesting to you, if you've got a group of friends who are you've played battle royales with or COD or anything like that, and you want to try something interesting and different, the first thing that scares a lot of people off is the permadeath. So the first 10 levels, the first 10 ranks you get as a player, you don't lose any characters, but what you soon realize is because you can reshuffle and get a new character, it's kind of like a card deck building game in that way that it doesn't really, it's made for that. Like everybody, I'll be running around in the world and I very rarely see anyone, a hunter who's over level like 5. Usually when you get killed by a level 1, somebody just starting over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd recommend checking it out. And that brings us to the end of what have we been playing lately. What do you say we talk about gaming news and rumors?
Yes, please educate me.
Please educate you. So a couple of big things that happened this week that I thought was important to talk about is that there's been a lot of like shuffling around at some of the big gaming studios. You know, if you've not been paying attention, Blizzard has like really shit the bed in the last year. From their whole, we talked about it on the pod before with, I think Amanda was on for that episode. We talked about Blizzard had, they did their not Overwatch League. What was it? It was the, now I'm drawing a blank. Was it Overwatch League? Where they had the guy, who was saying free Hong Kong and they took his money away? Or no, it was Dota 2, I think. Yeah, the guy who won Dota 2, and they came out with this big apology, and then they finally about 2-3 weeks ago released Warcraft 3 Reforged. Which, did you ever play Warcraft 3 back in the day?
No. My first introduction to WoW was
WoW.
Yeah, pretty much.
So basically, WoW came from the Warcraft franchise, which came out as an RTS, sort of like. All the old RTSs, Command and Conquer, and the one Microsoft made I really like. That's more of a medieval.
Just to interject, it was Hearthstone.
Hearthstone, thank you. It was one of those Blizzard games I don't play.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Thank you for correcting that. So they've really shit the bed lately. This Warcraft 3, which I played back in the day, was great, but in 2018, during one of the BlizzCons, they showed like, hey, we're making Warcraft Reforged, which is going to have all this new animation and all this new look to it. And when it came out, it's basically just a barely up-resed port of the original game with like a bunch of features missing and a changed end-user license agreement, which means anything that you make using these assets belongs to Blizzard now, unlike like Dota 2 and those kind of games came from Warcraft 3 originally as a mod.
Yeah.
So it seems like a smash grab, and they charged $30 for it. And there was a time when Blizzard was known for quality. Like, they may not be perfect, but there was a level of polish that came with a Blizzard game no matter what. In fact, I bought Warcraft 3 Reforged because I didn't follow it at all. I hadn't been keeping an eye on it. And I thought, well, Blizzard's putting out a game. I've not, and I loved Warcraft 3 back in the day. I've not played it since back then. I bought the Reforged, and oh my god, it's basically the same game. It's like the single player was literally, there's no new animations. There's no, the texture work looks to be slightly above, but not great. It's not, it's not anything I'd write home about. In fact, I played it and I ran into bugs. It crashed. The menus were janky. It ran at like 20 frames per second. I couldn't believe how bad it looked.
I just did a quick Google search on Warcraft 3 Reforged, and apparently it got the worst Metacritic rating ever.
Yeah, people. Now that's fans going out of their way. I actually read about that. There was a game that was really bad, and as part of that brigading to get that Metacritic user rating down, they went and upvoted the previously worst one just to bump it above Rockstar. But it didn't get good critical reviews either. And there was all this problem with their refund policy. They like froze out refunds for a while. Reportedly, I don't know that they did that, but then they had to put out a press statement saying, okay, no matter how long you've played it, we have an automatic refund process for, and I refunded it because I was so disappointed with it. I played it for an hour one night, and like the longer I played it, the more I thought, well, maybe just this intro doesn't have it, because there's like a prologue.
Yeah.
Before you get to the main story. I'm like, maybe the main story is where all the changes come in. Nope. And then the next day I went at work and I kind of Googled around and I'm like, what am I missing here? Maybe there's some kind of launcher setting, and nope, it's just not there. So I don't mind them putting out a remaster. And if they chose to put out a bare bones remaster for $30, I just wouldn't have got it. But in 2018, they showed it was going to be a lot more than a remaster. It was going to have like completely redone animations and updated stuff, and it's not there. So whatever. You
would expect it to be of a decent level. Again, on this quick Google search that I did, apparently a couple of days ago they released a 2 gig update saying that they tackled animations, hitching, and more. But this is the problem that I have with games that are released too. I don't know if this was released too early. I don't know if they just thought they could get away with putting this out and then expecting the Blizzard, fan base just to happily accept it.
Here's what I think, and this is based on just my observation and opinions. Though I don't have any inside information, but it seems to me that Blizzard and Activision merged, and this combined with Blizzard laying off like 800 employees last year, and saying they don't have the money but they're making record profits, tells me that in Blizzard's one of their big CEOs stepped down about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think Activision's influence is starting to show itself, and getting something out on schedule is more important than getting it out correctly. Mm. So if you're prioritizing deadlines and crunch, and you're taking away the talent and the people that make it happen, it's a recipe for disaster, and I think that's what we're seeing. And hopefully they can get the right people in there and get the right minds changed to turn it around. But until they do, I'm kind of like suspicious of Blizzard. I'm going to be like, I'm not going to ever do what I did with Warcraft Reforged again. And that's, buy it sight unseen on the trust that they built as reputation. Cause they've really lost that trust in the last few years for me.
Well, you would think, hopefully they will learn from this as a company and maybe take it into consideration next time if they're going to prioritize, like you said, release dates over actual quality. I can't see, like, they've lost trust with you've lost their trust. Wait,
yeah, I've lost faith in them, basically.
You know what I mean. Then something has to change. Otherwise, they're just going to go down the pan and then just disappear, and which would be just an incredible shame.
Exactly. Well, speaking of Blizzard, Gears of and what they're doing going forward, Gears of War veteran Rod Ferguson, who was a part of their creative team that made Gears of War way back in the day, has announced that he's leaving that company and going to work for Blizzard.
I did see that, because I think people were questioning what the future of Gears of War is now, if there is a future. Man,
that new Gears of War 5 game, it was a beautiful game. It ran really well. I played it for an hour and thought, this is the most boring. I don't care at all about this.
I've never been a Gears of War fan, unfortunately. I, like you just said then, I don't find it particularly interesting or engaging for me. That's just
So Gears 1 I played it on PC years ago, and I enjoyed it because it was the world was interesting. But this new one was real bright and colorful. The original Gears was like a burned out wasteland, and it was kind of neat to see. And then the gameplay was moody and spooky a little bit. And this new one was just like everything's bright and lit up, and it looks like Legos or something.
So that's the route they're taking.
Rod Ferguson tweeted, he began working on Gears of War over 15 years ago, and since then it's been the joy of my life. But now it's time for a new adventure. I have Gears in the great hands of the Coalition, I leave Gears in the great hands of the Coalition. I can't wait for everyone to play Gears Tactics on April 28th. So he's going to go to Blizzard and work on Diablo 4.
Maybe he can bring something worthwhile to Blizzard then.
Yeah, hopefully Activision's tentacles haven't got too far in that company, but we'll see. Yeah. So the other big news that I read this week was that Smash Brothers, they tried to get Sora from what was that? Kingdom Hearts in Smash Brothers, but Disney said no.
Oh,
and I know, right? And that could have fixed a couple other issues where Sakurai, who is the director of the Smash Brothers franchise, he said publicly this week that there are too many Fire Emblem characters and sword-based characters in Smash Brothers because they released another one.
How many? Do you know how many there are in it?
Oh, I don't even know. I haven't even booted that game up in 6 months plus.
Let me do a very quick search here. I'm very curious now.
8.
Yeah,
because there were 5 last time I looked, and I know they've added more since.
Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem characters.
There are 6.
There are 6? Okay. Yeah, I mean, on a roster of 50? Now, that game was big in Japan, so I'll give them credit that, that's who, who's making this. A Japanese company, Japanese director. They're making this game, and if that game was big, it'd be like saying there's too many Mario characters in it. Because there's a lot of Mario characters in it.
Sorry, my bad. There's 8.
Okay, I thought it was more than 6, but I didn't look it up. So
6 in the original, and then they've added 2 more.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot of characters. But how many Mario characters are in it? Like 12?
Yep. But the thing is, Mario is widely recognized. Fire Emblem is very, I think, a very specific kind of game. It's very, it's popular in Japan. I get that. It might be popular in the US.
No, it's not.
Here, yeah. If you showed Marth or Ike to just a regular gamer here, I doubt they would recognize what game they were from. They might recognize them from Smash.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's that guy from Smash, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I think that's fair. If you go look at Japan, there's been like 15, 20 Fire Emblem games. So I I'm trying to be understanding, even though I personally don't care. I mean, I don't. And I've tried. When those games finally came here, they came on like mobile platforms like the DS. I'm like, ooh, I've heard nothing but great things, and this game's huge in Japan, and I've loved most every game I played out of Japan that's made it over here, so I'll give it a try. I'm like, nope, I don't. It's too slow of there's not enough action in it for me. But
is it quite a typical JRPG?
No, it's not. It's a tactics game. Well, there's different varieties of it, right? So, but it's basically more of an RTS mixed with JRPG.
Oh, okay.
So you have like an overworld. Did you ever see that game Wargroove that Zerker was playing? It's like that. That's basically it's a version of that, but with a story element between the maps.
Oh, okay.
So it's its own thing, and it's good, and I don't really care that there's so many of them in Smash. It was just funny that he publicly said it.
But I guess if companies like Disney start shooting you down, where else are you going to turn?
Exactly. You gotta go get the stable for characters we have sitting around.
Sora would be quite a good addition to Smash, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So here's another rumor coming that the next Rainbow Six season will have a Tachanka update.
Actually, or is that just a rumor? Because that rumor has been going on for ages.
This is a newer rumor about it, and I think I've heard this from Tom was talking about it last week. So again, big hashtag or not hashtag, a big asterisk here that it's a rumor, but basically, when Rainbow Six Siege launched, no one probably expected it to become as big as it is today. According to Reset Era poster and known leaker Kormora, the upcoming first season of Year 5 will be reworking the often marginalized Tachanka. So this person has a history of... Komura has leaked a lot of Siege information in the past that ended up being true, lending some credibility to this rumor.
Yeah.
So we'll
Does
see.
he say what?
No, just that that and a map system. They're gonna update the map system. Like, I don't know, like instead of having just like a stable that's not selectable anymore, they're gonna like rotate them more often. Is the rumor?
Oh, right.
So the map, like maybe weekly. That's just a speculation on my part. I don't. There's no rumor about that.
See, I wouldn't mind that actually, because I think it gets to a point if you play it enough and you know where the potential spawn points are. Given that there's only 3 or 4 in one map.
Yeah.
I'm meaning like where the bombs could be.
I know what you mean.
You end up working out routes for each spawn. So if I say, if you play it enough, it will become fairly second nature to know, I need to go in here in order to get to there, and possibly someone will be here. But if you keep rotating it, then it gives that level of, I think like a level playing field almost, because the attackers almost don't know how to approach.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's perfect example. If the map selection is not big enough, and, the diehards learn that anyway. No matter how big the map is, if they play 24 hours
especially if you
a
are
day.
pro.
So the other thing that was originally going to be a rumor, but since I put this on the schedule, it actually became a confirmed fact. Is Platinum Games' classic Wii U game called The Wonderful 101.
Yes.
So they've been kind of working on this in the background, and they went to Nintendo to get it put on the Switch. And Nintendo was like, "Yeah, that game was kind of a bomb for us, so we're not going to put our money behind it." And Platinum asked Nintendo, "Hey, can we release this ourselves? Can we self-publish this?" And Nintendo said, "Sure, go nuts." And they issued a Kickstarter. I guess they have a new loan from a business loan from Tencent, the company who made that Battle Royale game we played.
Yeah.
But Tencent said or presumably Tencent wouldn't allow the money to go toward self-publishing this game because they want to be their publisher. But they made a Kickstarter for it. Platinum did, to have it released as a multi-platform, which I think is the best news for this game. If you didn't play this on the Wii U, it's basically a comic book / Saturday morning kids cartoon style action adventure game where you play a group 101 superheroes at one time. Did you ever see this or play it?
I haven't played this and I haven't seen it, but I was reading about it because it popped up on one of my feeds.
Okay.
About what you were just saying, them wanting to publish this with Nintendo, but obviously being shut down. So yeah, I don't know too much about it.
It's a big gamble as a gamer. If you've never played Wonderful 101, look at reviews and watch video of it, because I think the art style could be like somebody could look at it and dismiss it really quickly as being too kiddie, and they're not wrong. It's very much made in that vein. But I had it on the Wii U, and I think the one thing that held it back was that it was a Wii U game, both from a technical standpoint and from it felt like they ham-fisted in the tablet integration, because your characters could it's like Pikmin a little bit. Your characters could form together into like a one character who's had a giant fist. If you look at the cover, there's a guy in red who has a giant red fist. What that is, if you look inside that red fist, it's a bunch of the 100 characters formed into the shape of a fist.
Ah, no way.
And the way that you turn that on when you're fighting in the overworld is you'd have to draw the hand on the D-pad, on the pad on the Switch.
Oh,
so you're playing the game, you're fighting, you're button mashing, and then you go, okay, now I need to switch to sword. Let me draw with my finger a sword on the gamepad. in the middle of all the action.
Was it? Meanwhile, you're just getting pummeled.
Yeah, and it was a neat idea, and it was, you know, when the Wii U was neat and new, and you're like, oh, this is kind of a cool integration, but after a while, it just got in the way. I mean, it was novel, sort of like Wii U motion controls for most games. Very few games did it right, did it well, but it was kind of like, it felt like this shouldn't be here. Why do I have to waggle my Wiimote when I can just push a button? So they put this Kickstarter on.
Waggle my Wiimote.
Waggle my Wiimote, the name of my first sex tape.
Wow.
The beautiful thing about this is they're going to they put out a Kickstarter and said if it reaches this level, we'll release it on the Switch. If it releases this level, we'll release it on PC. This level will go PS4. This level we'll put a standalone 2D game out first, sort of like some of the popular Kickstarters have done, like that Symphony of the Night clone a couple months ago. And within a week, they hit $1.5 million. They've hit every goal.
It said I was just reading about it now, it said within 4 hours.
It hit the first goal for sure.
Yeah, that's mad.
I looked at the Kickstarter a few days ago and they were at 1.3 million. I'm looking at it now and they're at 1.5. So they've hit every goal.
Yeah.
Their initial goal was 50,000 and they've basically hit 1.5 million. So to say there's a fan base that's hungry for this out there is great, which means the game's going to get released on PC, Switch, and PS4. I'm super stoked that it's coming to PC because then you'll be able to control it however the fuck you want. You don't have to worry about all the stupid forced, like who knows how Nintendo will make them do the Switch port, but, I'm actually, for $30, you can get a digital or physical copy of it from the Kickstarter, and I'm actually going to back it.
Oh, nice.
This week because I want to give it another shot. I think it'd be fun to play through. If you've never played a Platinum game, they're the guys who made The Witch. No, not The Witcher. Bayonetta, who is a witch, so that's why I was confused. And they've made. Right. They've made a bunch of awesome Japanese games. They're very like stylized, over the top. Platinum is, and this game's no exception. It's just very. It kind of has that. I don't know, Cherry, if you grew up with like after school cartoons when you were younger, or like Saturday morning cartoons where everything's real kind of silly and over the top. It has that feel to it, and it's kind of nostalgic. And I really enjoyed playing it, despite some of the control hiccups that the Wii U introduced.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll check this one out because I wasn't aware of this game when it was released for the Wii U. But just from what you were saying then, and looking at a few screenshots as well, it does look kind of fun.
I'm sitting here watching the Kickstarter, and like every few seconds, it just climbs up another $30.
So there's obvious demand for it then.
Yeah, I think when this podcast episode comes out, we're going to see it go up another 100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, Cherry, you got anything else? Any other rumors or news you want to talk about this week?
No, I think you covered most of what has been happening, so yeah.
Covered all the important stuff, and we also talked about Wonderful 101.
Yeah.
All right, Cherry, well, how can people get a hold of you?
Wow, I've not done this for a while. If you guys want to contact me in any way, shape or form, you can catch me. The best place is on Twitter. I am at CherryCake518, and I'm back streaming, so yay. If you want to check me out, I'll be on Sunday nights and usually during the week. Schedule's still a bit up and down at the moment, but if you want to head on over to, I'm Cherry Cake
with 3 R's.
Yes,
I'll put links in the show descriptions if you guys want to just click there. You can get it. I'm at CrunkyTTV on Twitter, and also at Crunky with 2 N's on Twitch. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.